It's always super special to be here at home base and just be able to speak to you all and the parents that not only you do so much, but just you invest so much into your kids and into yourselves. And so today I wanted to focus in, obviously the title says performing under pressure, bringing your A game to the start of the school year. Now that can be something that you highlight for yourselves or for your kids as well. And so for parents today and those of you that are in need of receiving some sort of just self-care tips and ways to be able to help yourselves and your kids, this is for you. I do want to say as well that pressure is out there. Right? We experience pressure on our daily routines and students. We have deadlines, we have bills as adults, we have bills, we have families. So pressure exists, and that's not even including work, right? So all of the extra things that are there. But please do me a favor and take this to heart for yourselves today as well, not just for your kids, because as you do these and implement these principles in your lives, your kids will see and eventually model that same behavior. It might take some time, but they are watching and they are listening. So, I want to read this really quickly. It's just a segment of something that I wrote that I think kind of highlights where we are today as a society. And sometimes we say the struggle is real. We say like, wow, we're kind of struggling to try and keep up with the advancements in technology and the advancements that are all around us. So I'm going to read this really quick. You can go ahead and obviously take a picture as well. But one of the issues that we struggle with in today's society is that we have become highly impatient. We are constantly trying to speed things up and keep up with the advancements happening all around us. As a result, we are working our brains to the point of total exhaustion. Competition is now at an all-time high, which causes many people to want to push themselves harder than ever before. There's nothing wrong with working hard. However, you need to balance the work with rest. Depression and anxiety rates have now hit an all-time high, and we are pushing ourselves into uncharted territory, and that is why so many of us feel like we're underperforming. We do not have a realistic standard that we can compare ourselves to in this new territory because the standard has been set too high. Many of us become numb and do not recognize that we are tired or burned out, and during times of distress, emotions are repressed, which means we're bottling things up. Keep in mind, suppression is compartmentalizing something, saving it for later, and then addressing it and processing it later. But what we're doing is repressing things to the brink of complete overflow. Before we know it, we're drowning in anxiety, sadness, anger, confusion, and utter exhaustion. And it's important to know that life doesn't have to be this way. That's what I want to emphasize today. Life doesn't have to be this way. We all have the capacity to be patient and slow down. We just need to exercise some self-control. And as we do that as parents, and I can say that now because Suzanne and I have a 1-year-old. So as parents, we do that. We exercise self-control. Take a minute, breathe, reflect, and refresh. Take your time, be in the present, enjoy the now, and stop trying to rush or worry your way into the future. Because worrying is just involved with preoccupation. It distracts you from the here and now and being present. And the future will come, and when it does, you will be ready for it. So if you can get this concept, grasp it, and deliver that and preach it to your kids as well, your kids will start to feel a little less pressure. Because we live in a society where we're pushed to the brink, right? And so I want to highlight this picture. I saw this and I was like, this is really good. I need to take that and use that for myself as well. You wouldn't let this happen to your phone, right? And when it does happen, we all go, where's the charger? I mean, we even have portable chargers now that we're like, okay. And then when the portable charger is dead, then it's like, I don't have anything. So now, yeah. So why do we let this happen to our brains? Essentially, when we don't rest, when we don't allow for recharge time, recovery time, that's what we're doing. The quality of your functioning and attention is more valuable than the quantity. See, we're trying to do this, okay, I gotta produce more, I gotta do something. If I'm not doing something, then that means I'm not being productive. However, when you're doing some rest, or when you're resting, you are being productive because you're helping yourself sustain for the future in the long run when you do have to perform under pressure. Because there are those times where we do go into extra innings in life, right? And it does go into overtime. And if you need to perform during that time, if you're taking care of yourself and finding balance and doing what you need to do to make sure that you're physically and mentally healthy, then that will help you in the future. So, in other words, the context of this is if you're giving something 50% of your attention and multitasking and doing like 5 other things at a time, that's what you're going to produce. So for our students, it's important for them to realize too, hey, let's pick something to focus in on. I get it. Multitasking is like a gift, right? We do it, we try to do it, but I'm trying to say, invest in that. Like, okay, this is what I'm working on and I'm giving it 100% in this moment. If I'm stretching myself too much and going out into all types of different things that are going to push me and stretch me to a point of utter exhaustion, then I have to pull back a little bit. And it's okay to say no. It's okay. It's okay to establish a boundary of saying, I'm doing too much. And athletes, if athletes keep pushing themselves, working out, exercise is one of the most healthiest things you could do for yourself. But if you do it all the time and don't allow yourself to rest and recover, what happens? You get injured. So it's the same with our minds. It's the same with how we apply ourselves in our everyday routines. The most intelligent, well-developed mind will burn out and experience glitches if it does not allow itself for recovery and recharge. So parents, this is for you too, because you have to do so much. You do so much. You work. You're raising families. You have family members that you're still being, those ones that you have to be really patient with, right? And your kids as well. You have high schoolers. So take this to heart. Try not to allow yourself to run on empty. You can go ahead and take a picture of this for the sake of time. I don't want to go too deep into all of this, but one of the things that we struggle with is we deal with these cognitive distortions that cognitive behavioral therapy refers to, and it's the 2 common ones I see a lot are all or nothing thinking and catastrophizing. And one way to give an example of the all or nothing thinking is when you have this assignment or something or project that you did, you started out and you made a mistake or you messed up, and then you go, that's it. Okay, it's over. I failed. I'm not good. That's all or nothing thinking. It's almost like the inability to emotionally regulate when something happens and you're like Maddie Jr., our son. If he doesn't get something the way he wants it in that moment, he's like, then he just flails about and we're like, dude, come on. Like, we're going to get your food right now. Just give us a couple of seconds, right? And he just jumps to the conclusion. It's so funny. And what happens? They have to be taught, right? They have to be taught to say, okay. And he actually, not to brag, but I am going to brag, he does know how to do some deep breathing. He does. He knows how to do it. And we go, it usually happens at dinner time when he gets upset and he's done. And we'll go, okay, let's do our breathing. He has no idea what he's doing, but he's just copying it. And he goes, and then he starts laughing. So telling your kids, hey, it's okay. Let's take a deep breath. Let's fill up our bellies. Let's breathe out. Let's exhale. We're going to work through this. We're going to get through this. The pressure will not break you because You are reinforced with a solid foundation of positive core beliefs that you keep reinstilling in your kids and in yourselves. Pacing yourself and understanding that patience is so important in this process. Patience drives peace. And I like to tell clients this as well, and students, that impatience drives irritability, which leads to anger and agitation. Patience drives peace, which leads to a settling in your heart and mind. And once your heart and mind are at peace, your actions and reactions will follow in the same direction. So we have to learn how to be patient with ourselves, and we have to learn how to be patient with our kids. Me and Suzanne are really, really learning how to be patient with a 1-year-old. This morning, getting him ready, we're ready to go, all good. I pick him up and I smell something and I'm like, dude, you pooped, didn't you? He had already gone before, so we had to all right, let's go check. Right? I'm like, okay, we're going to be on time. We're still good. We had to take a little pause and go, but patience, right? Being patient. Philippians 4:4-7 talks about, and I want to highlight here, and the peace of God which transcends, another translation says, or defines it as surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and mind through Christ Jesus. That means we can't even comprehend that peace that God's bringing into our lives. So the more you instill that into your kids as well and into yourselves, the more you can see that even in chaos, that peace that we have continues to drive out all of those cares. 1 Peter 5:7 talks about casting all of your cares to him because he cares for you. That peace goes with you wherever you go, even in the times of pressure, when we're facing difficult circumstances. Here's some more stuff that I won't get deep into, but I just want to say it's time to start challenging our what ifs with our what is, what we know to be true. The proof that you can say, I've been through this, I did that, I accomplished that. Use that for your kids. Tell them, hey, guess what? You did so much already. Look how far you've come. Use those as reference points. Those are victories. The small victories count. Every step forward counts. So you continue to reinforce that. And don't believe everything you think. I tell that to clients and students all the time. Just because you have a thought doesn't mean that it's true. We get caught up in that sometimes. Like, I had that thought, and then it becomes a rumination, and we're just focused on it. And it's like, okay, well, that means that it's true. No, it doesn't. You get to choose. You get to pick. So challenge your what-if worries with what you already know to be true, what you've already accomplished, what you've already done. Parents as well. You've already been through something. You can do this now because you were empowered to do it, and you will make it through this next obstacle, right? Now we go, as I get close to concluding, self-care. It's not selfish. I promise you it's not. It's generous. Why is it generous? Because it gives. It gives relaxation, rest, and recovery. And self-care looks different for everyone. I talk about this a lot, and I say there's universal coping strategies, and then there's individual or personal coping strategies. Universal are like exercise, eating healthy, drinking a lot of water, deep breathing, mindfulness, things like that, prayer, right? Individual and personal are, some of you might enjoy going for a brisk walk. Others might be the type that like to just sit in silence. Some might like to just drink coffee, and that's their self-care. Watch your favorite show later on at night and laugh. That's individual. You find what works for you. It's the same with your kids. Your kids might have different ways of de-stressing and practicing self-care that might be different as opposed to what you do, right? There's no wrong form of that. But you have to take the time to actually do it. This is something that I preach a lot. And wrote it this way because it kind of rhymes, and I think it sticks with you when you say, relax, rest, return, refreshed. Relax, rest, return, refreshed. When you're in a point of, okay, I am exhausted, I am going to collapse, I'm going to burn out, I'm going to break down, remind yourself that little relax, rest, return, refreshed, right? Because this is going to help you feel, here's another R word, relief. And then another R word, recharging. It's going to help you feel like you recharged. Remember that picture that we showed with the empty battery at 1%? It's going to help you recharge. This is a fact right here. You can rest or you can burn out. It's as simple as that. It's going to happen at some point if you don't rest. As a therapist, learning how to balance the self-care in the field of working with people is so important because you take in so much, and if you don't let go of it, it will just weigh on you and cause a burnout, and then you will not be able to perform and give quality service to people because you are not at your peak. You've allowed yourself to just, okay, I'm just going through the motions now, right? It's the same with work. Same with work. Whatever you do for work. And essentially, we invest in what we believe to be worthwhile. We spend time in what we believe is valuable. And the time is currency of your life. My question is, how are you spending it? Are you balancing it out? Financially, the best way to be financially stable is to balance out your finances, right? You have a budget. You say, okay, I can only spend so much here, I can only spend so much there. It's the same with your time and investment and how you do that with taking care of yourself. I can only give so much here, I can only give so much there. What does that look like? So take your time, be present. Enjoy the now. Remind your kids to enjoy where they are right now, this process. We're trying to get to college so quick. It's like, we're thinking of college and we're thinking of deadlines and applications are due. And I get that. And I understand that we have to get to a point where, we got to meet those deadlines. However, if it's causing us an internal disturbance or distraction from being able to focus in on the present, that's when we need to do some reflection and self-evaluation. Even if it's a 10-minute me time. I think I said this in the last time I was here. Parents, guess what? You get to have at least 10 minutes of me time where you can say, this is me time. Everybody, let me be. I need to do some resting, whatever that is. I don't know what it might look like for you. For me, sometimes it's just listening to some music or watching a show at the end of the day. And you'll find that this will help you sustain for the future because the more me time you have in little increments, the more you're giving yourself those quick charges. Like when you have your phone that's dying and you're like, okay, I got a quick charge. Okay, I got like 10% more. All right, cool, I'm good to go. Like, let me go now, right? That's what that does, essentially. You're giving yourself more. And if you can do longer, do longer. Like if you can set aside a half an hour and give yourself a good quality recharge, do that. That's awesome. I'm saying all this because I want us to really take to heart the importance of slowing down and trying to focus in on what we are doing in the moment and what's happening in the moment rather than getting so caught up in everything else because there's so many distractions out there. And it's causing a negative impact on our mental and physical health. So, as I conclude, I just wanted to share for you all, do some reflecting for yourself and even with your family. And if you want to talk about some of these principles with your kids, awesome. I think that would be great to just kind of share and say, what does this sound like to you? How do you think we can implement that? As you do that, watch how you'll start to just see a difference in your disposition, how you respond to people, how you react to people, and how you're able to stop, think, and then act. And I think our kids, as teenagers, really need to kind of hear that a lot, right? Let's stop really quick, let's think about it, process it, break it down, then let's act, right? Because if we just act on how we feel in every single situation, oh my goodness, the world would be even more chaotic than it already is right now, right? So emotional regulation, it's a process, and we all can improve in that area. Agreed? Yes. I am done because I want to make sure I'm respectful of my time. But I hope that that was helpful in some way for you all to at least apply it in your own lives and your kids' lives and your family's lives as well. Cool. Yeah. If there's any questions, we have time for questions. Yes.
That is not a question, it's just like, is there a way that you can present this to the kids? Like during the presentation, because it will be so good for them to hear from someone else, not the parents.
I think we can work that out somehow. Yeah. The higher ups have to come up with that. So yeah, but thank you. That's awesome. I appreciate that. And I think that is important. Yeah.
What she said, those nuggets, those terms that you use,
Yeah.
word nuggets,
Yeah.
I think the kids really need to hear that. Because if I say it, my daughter's going to give me the eye roll.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, it's sometimes coming from a different person, but they are, just to let you know, they are listening. They just maybe think, oh, it's just my parents. Remember the all or nothing thinking? It's like my parents are the only ones that think that way or say that. No, that's not true, right? Yeah.
So Matt, 80% of our students are active, so they are getting the exercise, they spend all day at school.
Yeah.
When they come home to kind of decompress and recharge, we don't really want them to go to the phone to do that.
Yeah.
I agree with the other ladies, I'm not going to be able to tell my son, hey, let's do some breathing practice. What suggestions do you have for them to kind of decompress, or are there out there?
Yeah, I think the way to figure it out is to ask what other things outside of, and sometimes they get irritated with, well, my phone is what brings me relief, right? Well, then you say, well, let's think outside of the box. I even tell people, like, your favorite snack, like what could it be? Could it be your favorite treat? Could it be a show that you like to watch? And then they'll be like, well, I want to watch it on my phone. You're like, okay, let's do something different, right? It could be literally stepping outside and saying, hey, why don't you go outside and just kind of like experience nature, right? And then they're like, no, okay. Well, the more you kind of try to help them think out of the box, the more they'll start to see, okay, this is kind of like a routine that I'm having to do now. If I have to do it, then I'll figure something out that'll be at least somewhat pleasurable and helpful, right? It's like our private reading classes now. Kids can't have their phones and they have to actually be like doing work in study lab. Wow, that's crazy, right? So that same thing, it's like, hey, now's your time to choose what is gonna be helpful for you to relax. What is it? And you can even phrase it to say, what do you want to do? You get to pick. Can you imagine? You get to have a choice in what you do other than using your phone. Yeah. Yeah. I will, let me figure out how to get that either online or, maybe we'll put it on the website. We'll see, as a resource. Yeah, resources. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff. Obviously, I didn't want to elaborate too much on certain things. Wanted to try to get to the key points, but yeah. Again, what works for you in that moment might not work for you later on. You know, like if you're having a panic attack or you're feeling super anxious, and some people don't like to stand up. Some people don't like to go outside. Some people prefer to be left alone. Some people prefer for people to be around them. So that's why I literally say, and this is super cliche, but it really is a fact. Whatever works for you in that moment is what you should go to. However you feel, like your show might not work that night. Where you're like, this isn't funny tonight. You might have to switch it up. Same with the kids. That's one of the things that we run into that's an obstacle, is the kids are like, it didn't work the first time, I'm done. And you're like, come on, guys. Guys and girls, let's try and be consistent and see if there's a little bit of progress in this, right? That's the goal. So, anything else? Yeah.
You're talking about the all or nothing thinking.
Uh-huh.
And my approach with my son when he does that is I don't feed into it. I'm like, okay, yeah, then it's over. Then sell your, I did bad at baseball. Okay, then sell your equipment and play it again, and let's move on to something else.
Uh-huh.
And I don't feed into what he says. Is that good? Is that good or bad? Or I know that's probably debated, but.
You can, I mean, that's definitely one way to go about it. Another way too would be, you could also say, how about we look at it from a different perspective? It's like a simple reframe. Like, for example, if somebody says something bad or negative to you and you say, well, everybody hates me. It's like, well, question, do we know for a fact that everybody hates you? No. Okay. So what do we know? That there's a possibility that other people might like me. So you're reframing it in a simple way of, if he wants to get frustrated with something, it's kind of adjusting the perspective. And sometimes people that are dysregulated get frustrated with that. And they're like, whatever, right? Don't try to reason with it. Because when you try to reason with it, all it does is they're not listening.
Yeah, if I could make him more angry if I tried to.
Right. Yeah. So sometimes you do have to just allow them to de-escalate a little bit and say, okay, and then you readdress it later. Hey, remember when we were talking about that? Did you think maybe about this or something? Right? Because when we're completely like dysregulated, we don't care. We're just whatever, I don't care. You could say the best speech ever. Have like Tony Robbins come in and do like motivational speaking. And if somebody is dysregulated, it's like, that was mid. Yeah, I dropped the mid. I did. Sorry, I had to. And for those of you that know our teenagers, mid is what? Right? That's mid. My wife is cracking up because I look for every excuse to be able to say like drip and like mid and the Riz. Sorry. I had to. Anything else? Any other questions? The Riz and the mid. And then when you use it in the proper context, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, so, yeah, I know. That's one thing we need to work on a little, is the vocabulary for the now, the present. Because when we were in high school, it was swag. Now you say swag, and they're like, what is that? Like, it's drip. Anything else? And yes, we'll figure out how to get this information accessible to you all. But yeah.
Is there any other questions?
It's not style, guys. It's drip. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
I think even with the last part with those little turns, it'll raise our credibility with the teens.
Oh, yeah.
Parent credit.
Yeah.